Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. I'm Task Force Bourbon, and today we have a special, beautiful guest, my wife,
Mrs. Task Force Bourbon.
Mrs. Task Force Bourbon, also known as Hales, as I call her. But what we are going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about, obviously, double oaks, because what you see here before you, 1910, is part of Old Forest's Whiskey Roast Series, and we love the Whiskey Roast Series.
We do. We're going to be talking about the 117 series as well.
Which is an experimental line of Old Forester. This is, if I bring it up closer here, it's called Extra Extra Old 1910, which if I was a betting man, I'd guess that this was just extra extra old. And so really, that we're going to talk about the differences between these two. We'll talk about the differences of double oaks and why charring is important. Why it's different than other bourbons. But we do got a shout out to Old Forester. We love the 1920. We made the 115 series as well.
Yeah, the 115 series is...
Or blend, excuse me.
Yes. I love it. It's great. Probably my fave, but we shall see after today.
And for those who might be unfamiliar, what is the 115 series blend?
It's a blend between the 1920 and the 1910.
Yep, 50-50 split down the middle,
Yes.
let it sit for 30 days, and wham, bam, there you go. You got a perfect concoction, or the people's blend, as some refer to it as. But anyways, that's another review for another day. But like I said, strap in because we're going to be here for a while. We're going to get full-on nerd-style podcast, masterclass, TED Talk on charring, the science behind it. But before we do that, we're going to give these guys a chance to sort of aerate. There is a dispute in the community whether or not that makes a difference to neck pores. You might hear it referred to. I think when in doubt, why not? Nancy Fraley says it's a real thing, and I trust anything she says for sure. So I'll go ahead and cut these, and you go ahead and pour it for us.
Sounds great.
All right. All right, check it out. And then I gotta love this part. We gotta love this part. Everybody silent. Ready?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was nice.
That's a good one. Yeah, that was a good one.
All
All right, so go ahead, hook us up.
Just
make sure we keep
and
account where
the
they're at.
Glencairn on deck, if anyone is familiar with the Wee Glencairn.
Yep. Hey, here you go. Here's that guy. I'm gonna give you the cork, so
Perfect. Okay.
there's no oopsie daisies. I'll go ahead and start cracking open the 1910 and Old Forester. We're repping, here on the hat. We love them. And we'll talk about why, we think maybe there's sort of the lead on the market in terms of, ingenuity and flavor. And so we'll go ahead and I'll set my 117, excuse me.
Series, yes.
We'll set that on the right. We'll make sure this is on the right as well.
Sounds good.
So we don't mess that up. That'd be, yep. And then pour us some of the 1910. So why she's doing that, it's real quick, the idea of the double oak is pretty simple. There's what we'll talk about real quickly. It's going to be the ABCs of bourbon. I'll let Haley go over that with everybody as a reminder for those who might be a little unfamiliar with bourbon. But bourbon follows a very strict set of rules, right? And so to add flavor is a big no-no. You can't do that. So if you see something like honey whiskey, Jack Honey, it's just a whiskey at that point. Not a very good one. That obviously it's my opinion. And
all right, guys, the ABCs, if you're not familiar, so the A is going to be, so bourbon is made in America. The B is for new charred oak barrels. The C is going to be for corn. We love our corn. It must be made up of at least 51% corn. The D is for distilled to a maximum of 80% alcohol by volume. The E,
160 proof.
Yes, 160 proof, sorry. And then the E is for it must enter the barrel at no more than 62.5% ABV or 125 proof. F must be filled with no less than 40% ABV or 80 proof. And then G, it must be genuine, so no additives, no colors, anything like that.
Nothing other than water, right?
Yes.
That's how you get it from barrel proof down to a certain proof, like 80 proof. I don't know why you like 80 proofs, but different folks, different strokes. And all right, so 1910's on the left. So as I was saying, the idea of double oak's pretty simple. You saw the strict set of rules. You do really anything outside of that, it's not a bourbon anymore, especially when it comes to flavoring. So how do you get different flavors? You can do a few things, right? You can age it on different sections of warehouse, low, middle, high, right? Obviously different states, even has a different climate that impacts the flavor. And then there's something called the finishing of a bourbon, where they'll take a bourbon, right? Set it for however long they want to age it. They could age it, a day technically, all the way to like 20 years. Although I don't think I've seen a 20-year finished bourbon, but you can take that bourbon, dump it in a barrel that used to hold something else, like it maybe held an apple brandy or something like that. Now you would have, and let it sit for 30 days or 9 years even. That would be a bourbon finished in apple brandy, and it would impart some of those flavors. Now, double oak's very similar to that. Essentially, it's just dumping it into another charred oak barrel and imparting some more oak flavors. So that's sort of where I wanted to touch on when I talked about the nerdy stuff, is go into sort of why, what charring is, why it's important to the barrel. Let's see here. So I do have a bunch of nerdy, sciencey stuff here on the laptop here that you all can't see. So
it's an entire PowerPoint. It looks really great. I wish you guys could see it. Maybe he'll spoil you guys and post some pictures of it.
Yep.
Maybe.
But I'm just going to try to keep it pretty light here because it does get pretty sciencey. But really what's important is that to get those flavors of a bourbon, somewhere between estimated 50 to 80% of everything from the color to the aroma to the flavors, that all comes from the barrel itself. And it's unclear exactly how that all started. It's some of it's rumored to be Elijah Craig, and where a lightning accidentally hit his barn, it charred some of his barrels, but that's probably unlikely. The more likely story that we hear is they used to hold barrels and transport the whiskey, and to get some of the flavors of the stuff it used to hold, like pickles or fish, they would char the inside of it out. Again, none of this is confirmed. That's sort of the rumor of where it started, but happy coincidence is it actually has some science behind how it impacts a flavor. And again, that's what we're going to be talking about here now. So before wood even start, the wood that goes into a barrel even starts, it has to sit outside and do something what's called seasoning, or to become seasoned. It would basically air dry outside. That removes a lot of things and brings the stuff of the wood to light. That's another story for another day too. What I really want to get to is sort of the charring itself. So the charring itself helps activates the cellulose and the hemicellulose, or otherwise simply sugars that are inside of the oak, helps to activate it. Once that wood gets heated up to certain degrees, and I think it's 140 degrees, it actually starts to activate those sugars and breaks them down and brings out some of those flavor molecules that help impact the eventual end product. So what happens is, Haley, if you would just pull up this wood stave we have here as a sample. So they char the inside for what they'll call levels 1, 2, 3, or 4. 4 is oftentimes nicknamed the alligator char. Glad I didn't hit you with that. Sorry. So you can see, it's just straight up just burning the oak. It's nothing crazy, nothing major, right? But on the side here, you'll note there's something that people sometimes call by wrong names. There's a red line and a soak line. The red line's really, really hard to see. It's right on the underneath the char itself. That's how far that charring went in and where those flavors are gonna activate within the wood. Now this is called the soak line. The next line down right here, right there. That's how far, based on the age of the bourbon, right, that the bourbon went in and out of the oak stave. So obviously it sits upright like this with 53-ish of these around in a circle. This is obviously the inside, yeah. And then as the bourbon in the summer months, it gets hot, it'll expand, and in the colder months or days, sometimes Kentucky, it'll contract and it'll go back inside the barrel and go in and out, in and out, in and out. So another happy byproduct of that char is essentially like you would think for like water filtration, right? Where it makes it like drinkable because it removes impurities and other harmful bacteria, et cetera, et cetera. This is doing the same thing. It's removing impurities as well. So that helps to make it like, things like tannins and other things that we don't want in our bourbons. That helps do that. And especially the tannins are important because if you're talking an older bourbon, it's going to sit there for a while, and this helps to make it basically not for all intents and purposes, flat, right? Lignins and other things. I'll post this stuff here, lactones and all those other chemical compounds, again, that affect the flavor that charring helps to bring out. Without the charring, you wouldn't get a lot of these flavors. And also, again, it wouldn't remove a lot of the impurities. So we'll go ahead and set that down. I don't want to knock this over or anything. We'll switch back here because, like I said, I didn't want to get crazy sciencey. I guess I did say like buckle in, but I decided it was probably a little over much. Like there's literally like 10 pages there of like just straight up science and.
You can never get too nerdy with bourbon.
Yeah, I guess not. Real quick background: Old Forester is essentially the first bottled bourbon, right? It predates Prohibition and was one of the few medicinal licenses that was awarded. Meaning, for this brand, it's the still family owned and is the longest owned, continually operated family owned bourbon company on the market. What I really love though about Old Forester though is the fact that they make their own barrels. So
Cool.
We visited Independent Stave Company, ISC. Which, when you walk in on the wall, they've got, a bunch of labels of all the brands they produce, and it is breathtaking. Like, you name a brand right now, off the cusp, and I bet, not Old Forester, you name a brand, I would bet you it's probably made by Independent Stave Company. So what's that mean? It means that 50 to 80% of your bourbon that's being, giving the flavor of what we love about bourbon, minus mash bill, minus the where you put it in the warehouse, right? That does impact. But remember, 50 to 80% is the wood itself. And if, 90% of all the bourbon companies out there are sourcing from the same Independent Stave Company, thankfully they're doing a fantastic job. We love ISC. We love other bourbons other than Old Forester, obviously. But, it's cool to see a company like Old Forester setting themselves apart and doing, a remarkable job in that manner by making their own barrels. All right, so 1910 is not only also important on top of all this because 1910 denotes a certain, period in the Old Forester history and really Double Oak history writ large. So, Old Forester goes back over 150 years, but, in October 1910, a fire caused a bottling line to be shut down for an indefinite period of time. Complicating matters, there was a vat of mature whiskey waiting to be bottled. Otherwise facing ruin, this whiskey was instead stored in new charred oak containers and rested until the line could be repaired. The resulting product was the first documented double oak barreled whiskey. This was both different and remarkable enough to become an entirely new expression, which they also, you might see, in fine print there, very old fine whiskey. So the former Master Taster Jackie Zykan was the first one to release the 117 series, and she shepherded the 1910 whiskey as part of the Whiskey Row series. She says, quote, mature Old Forester, which enters a second barrel at 100 proof, just as it did in 1910. The second barrel is charred nearly to the point of incineration. That's supposed to emulate that bottling plant fire. So most other double oaks on the line, you've got staples like Jim Beam double oak, you've got Woodford double oak, Kentucky Peerless has a double oak. We like those. That's not exactly something I would call a staple. It's sort of a limited expression. They're technically a craft distillery, so it's not exactly accessible for most people. But 1910 should be on pretty much most people's radar when they go out to like a big liquor store, like Total Wine or what have you, whatever's in your area. And again, the 117 is an experimental line. It's sold at the distillery. It's a limited expression lineup that debuted first in spring of 2021. This one says batch 001, release date was December 2022 for this specific one, right? Because they do other thing like, High Angel Share or whatever. They have a whole bunch of different stuff that they do experiments. This second barrel is not age stated. So we don't know how long this, sat in the second barrel. And according to the Tax Trade Bureau, the TTB, the time that the whiskey spends or bourbon spends in the second double oak barrel does not count towards the age statement. So if it says 12 years double oak, it's not maybe 6 years and then another 6 years. That's not how that works. It's 12 years and then who knows, right? Hopefully it spent some time at that, if it's got old, right, for a double oak expression. But it does not count towards. Now, however, so they don't go on to provide it for the regular whiskey row. This one they do. They say this has been sat for 24 months in the second barrel. So we know this sat in the secondary barrel for 2 months, and if it's extra old, you can presume that this is somewhere less than 24 months and probably not 23 months either, right? They've got 2 extras in there. So I'm going to guess probably under a year. So although, like I said, Master Taster Jackie Zykan first released it, Master Taster now, Melissa Rifts said, quote, "This expression was born from a creative and innovative experiment while staying true to the classic taste which sets Old Forester apart. Although I only joined Old Forester last month, this was one of the first new limited expressions I was honored to taste, and the extra long double barreling leads to an explosion of flavors." All right, so that's enough history, I think, for tonight. We're going to go and start doing the fun stuff, y'all. What we say, 19 or 117 on the right?
117.
We should start with the left then, right?
Okay, yes.
You think?
Yes.
So we'll get a baseline started,
Yes.
and we'll get some aroma, some notes here.
Right.
It's my second favorite in the Whiskey Rose series, so I'm definitely a little biased here. Yeah, you can definitely taste that it's a little more oak dominant, like you get maybe some charred notes even. Yeah. What do you get?
I'm also getting those nice charred oaks. I'm still trying to decipher some flavors right now.
So when I say charred, sometimes like a charred can be kind of spicy, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you want to light in there. Might be a little rough or might taste a little young. That's not what I mean here. It's almost like a muted, just like you get the strong, like, it's been working out,
It's really nice, though.
This it does open rich. I get some, like, lightly burnt caramel, not like a aggressive burnt caramel kind of leading the front. I do get a little bit of rye, some warm leather, and some, I think even maybe some baking chocolate on this one. Anything on the mid? Nothing. It's pretty simple, straightforward. Bourbon. Tastes like charred oak and bourbon.
No, I usually taste like a hint of like peanuts. I'm not getting peanuts right now.
Yeah, she does. It's almost a running joke. Every bourbon we taste, she's like, there's some. I'm like, what? Say it. Peanuts? Yeah. But sometimes it's like, dang it, like they're actually, especially Jim Beam products, you get a lot of peanut kind of notes on it. But yeah, this one, like I said, it's rich, but it's not like decadent. I wouldn't use maybe some baking chocolate kind of on there. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like dark chocolate. It's not like milk chocolate even. It's just like, it's got rich flavors, but not sweeter anyway. There's also kind of like maybe some sort of dark fruit also in the mid. It helps to add some depth, but again, the double oak's definitely here. You can tell it, but it's just like a robust oak. All right, but what we really want to do, right?
Yeah, the 117.
This is what we're here for, y'all. This is what we're here for. This is what we're here for. Because I'm sorry, I'm like, yeah, come on. So yeah, this is what we're here for. The 117 series. Man, I've been trying to get a hold of this guy for a little while, but managed to get lucky. So
I like it because it's small.
It's 375 milliliters. If you couldn't tell, this is not a gigantic bottle of Old Forester 1910. This is your standard 750. This is unfortunately only sold in 375 milliliters. They're both bottled, obviously at the same proof, at 93 proof. So the only thing we're comparing is, how well, I guess, maybe they're doing the double oak, or how, maybe how much we like double oak, I guess. You can infer that potentially. All right. Let's see, compare. Honestly, the nose, to me, I think I'm getting the same thing. Which, I'm not great on nosing notes anyways, but there's really nothing crazy standing out anyway. Anything for you?
No,
This one maybe feels like it's...
Yeah.
older or something, or higher proof. Obviously, the same proof. It just maybe smells a little richer. Nothing crazy on it, but I always say that when you taste the bourbon, the only thing that matters, or you know, through the whole experience is, you know, for the aroma is how it might affect the tasting of, you know, on the palate. And so for me right now, nothing. Wow. Pretty similar.
Yeah, it's very similar. But
It's great. This is great. I was expecting like, wow, this is gonna be massively different. I just thought, you know, 2 more years on the second barrel. I think it's fairly similar. You know, just as preference, I think rated this at a 4.0 one time on a 5.0 rating scale, which is pretty good.
I know smooth is not necessarily the word that people like to use, but I feel like this one might be slightly more smooth.
More smoother.
More smooth.
More smoother. I wish I like knew how to edit. I'd go stamp, more smoother.
Like effects.
Insert special effects. Or just do it. Somebody write smoother in the comments. No, I do agree though. So someone, Get.Picks says, what do you think of at Oak Bottle? I've never had that. They also go on to say should try out Seeing Double Picks pack then. I don't think I've heard of that. But yeah, as far as this one goes, maybe a touch richer. And I think I said I maybe get more of that baking chocolate I did before.
Yep.
Kind of sweet, like brown sugar.
Yeah, I am getting like that nice like oaky taste to the 117 one. It does feel, I know I said smooth, maybe like more balanced than like, so like oaky, more balanced. It has a nice flavor profile.
They're both kind of medium bodied.
Yeah.
This one does have that same sort of, you know, warming tobacco caramel.
I'm getting hints of like grape, or I could be completely off.
Yeah. No, I got it.
Are you getting any grapes? Because I thought I smelled a little bit of grape on the nose on this one, but I feel like I taste a little bit of grape on the 117.
Sure. First of all, no answer's wrong, right? Unless you say peanuts. No, I'm kidding. No, they're no answer's wrong, right? Your palate's your own. They say there's, you know, a crazy amount. Like I've heard anything from 200, 300. Some people said like thousands of different flavor molecules that can be picked up on a single bourbon. You know, and if you would think of like your palate is sort of like a thumbprint or fingerprint, rather, it's unique to you. So while we might share some similarities, you know, like the sweet, the savory aspects, what I interpret on the sweet aspect scale of being caramel, you know, someone might say peanuts, or no, I'm kidding. So they might say like brown sugar, right? Yeah. So and and no answer's wrong. But anyway, so yeah, this one, I could taste like I said, like I think I got like some sort of fruit, maybe dark fruit on this. That could have been like a dark red grape or purple grape or something like that. And I think I can maybe pick that up here too.
Thank you.
As far as the double oak goes, I think actually the 1910 is maybe a bit more robust on that sense. And let me go back. I'm trying to like let my palate dry out a touch here because they're both kind of drying. Yeah? I
agree.
They're both kind of drying, which would be expected with so much oak involved in the process. But yeah, so let me try the 1910 again, yeah? I want to try to see how we feel about the oak. Yeah, you really want to do that Kentucky chew, you know, get it all around, all those parts of the tongue. This one tastes like more oak. But now I'm going back to it. The 1910, I remember I was like, it's robust and it's, you know, it's smooth, you know, smooth too. Like, it's true. This one is, the experimental is a little bit smoother. Maybe it's some of the more impurities are removed. I don't know, right? But this one now seems like it's almost younger. Like I can almost taste some of the greenness to the oak. I don't know, like that, if that makes sense. But now I went back, it tastes younger. Yeah. Which obviously is the case, but Let's see. Let me go back to the 117. Yeah, it feels like it's like deeper or darker sort of a wood, but as compared to the 1910, there's the 1910 again. I don't know. I think, honestly, for those of you all tuning in, I think these are kind of the same thing.
They're very similar. Very, very similar.
Very similar. So, if you're seeing this, like, oh, well, that sucks, I'm never going to get this. Like, great. Like, I wish everybody could grab it, and I think it's fantastic. I just don't, I wouldn't go forking out your life's savings or something for it, right? I think on the secondary, it goes some, like, $220, in secondary market, and retail it's like $50, right? And this one is like $60, give or take, right? Depending what market you're in, what region. But I would say that I think you taste the 1910, you basically tasted this. This is just like a little bit more smoother. It's maybe a little more complexities to it. It's good, it's great, but 4.0s are nothing to smirk at. That's a great rating on my scale.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think they're kind of on the same plane.
I do. I agree.
We agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
I concur.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks, Mrs. Task Force Bourbon, for joining on the channel and sharing your thoughts. It's been fun. And we're going to continue drinking this, but, by ourselves now. So thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you until next time. We'll say cheers. Okay, I want to mix them both.
I double fisted.
How do I end this thing? Let's see. I don't know how to end it. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know how to end my channel. Oh, and I hit the X button.